Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. It's a race against time as the Iran-US truce is about to expire. A dangerous game is playing out. President Donald Trump telling CNBC in an interview that he did not want to extend the ceasefire with Iran, adding that the US was in a strong negotiating position and would end up with what he called a great deal. Meanwhile, Iran claims it has new cards. A lot of questions and uncertainty right now. We are unpacking all of this for you and getting you the bigger picture. Also on the show for you tonight, as the seizure of the Iranian-flagged cargo vessel by the US continues to remain a flashpoint, fresh details have now emerged on what was found on board that vessel. That's coming up in just a bit. Also getting you the latest on the Israel-Hezbollah developments in southern Lebanon, the so-called yellow line drawn by Israel now being directly challenged by Hezbollah. Hezbollah issuing a warning. All this and more coming up.
Motor vessel Toska, vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
Time is running out for lasting peace in West Asia. A lot of questions. With the US-Iran ceasefire set to expire, brinkmanship is at its peak, with the US president threatening Iran, Tehran remaining firm in its stance. And amid all of this, neither the US nor the Iranian delegation as of now has departed for the talks in Islamabad as speculated. In fact, speaking to CNBC just a few hours ago, Trump made it clear that he does not want to extend the ceasefire and is in fact ready to go back to war with Iran. He hinted at the same time at the resumption of bombing if there is no deal, also maintaining that the US is in a strong negotiating position and expressed confidence about getting what he called a great deal with Iran. Earlier, the US president also accused Iran of violating the ceasefire numerous times. Meanwhile, Trump again hinted at the negotiations with Iran starting soon. Reacting to a post which claimed that 8 Iranian women will be hanged soon, he urged Tehran to release these prisoners, saying, and I'm quoting, "Please do them no harm," would be a great start to our negotiations. Speaking to the media, Pakistan's information minister has stated that Iran's confirmation to attend the talks is still awaited, stressing that Islamabad is in constant touch with the Iranians. He maintained that Iran's decision is crucial as the ceasefire ends at 4:50 a.m. Pakistan time, so the clock is ticking. And while reports suggested that the US Vice President JD Vance and other members of the US delegation were set to leave the country today, as of now that has not materialized. Although Axios claimed that Iran's new leader has approved the second round of talks with the US, Iran's state broadcaster made it clear that no delegation had gone to Islamabad so far. Meanwhile, amid all of this, Iran's judiciary chief has warned that talks with the US may fail and promised a response to America's act of firing on and seizing the Iranian cargo vessel. Both the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, as well as the parliament speaker, Mohammad Ghalibaf, in fact, have ruled out negotiations with the US under the shadow of threats. Also, The Iranian government spokesperson warned that Tehran has got its fingers on the trigger during negotiations and stressed that its defense forces are in full readiness.
It is possible that our negotiations may genuinely lead nowhere and that it will be necessary for us to carry out those actions again. The action they took against our vessel is something to which the Islamic Republic of Iran will certainly respond.
And even as the U.S. continues the blockade at the Strait of Hormuz, it claims to have forced at least 27 ships to turn back or return to Iranian ports. Data showing a different reality, it seems. As per Tasnim news agency, an Iranian-flagged ship transited the Strait of Hormuz despite that blockade. The vessel is reportedly heading for the port in India. This is not all. According to Lloyd's List Intelligence, at least 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels have bypassed the U.S. blockade so far. At least 26. Even as Tehran and Washington continue to clash over the fate of Iran's enriched uranium, the Israeli Prime Minister claimed to have removed the country's nuclear threat. Listen to this.
We have removed this immediate threat, and we will continue to fight with all our strength against terror states, and of course also against terrorists who deliberately target innocent civilians.
Pakistan continues to meanwhile prepare for a possible second round of talks. Security remains high around the hotel in Islamabad, where the first round of negotiations took place. And China's role has also come under the spotlight. Its envoy to Pakistan met Ishaq Dar. Interestingly, Pakistan's foreign ministry claimed that Jiang conveyed China's full support for the mediation efforts. Beijing's stance is perceived to be vital, of course, as it played a key role in bringing Iran to the negotiating table earlier, reportedly. Now, the mood on the streets of Tehran is also mixed. Some residents backing talks between the two sides to help restore normalcy in Iran. Listen in to one such reaction.
In any case, we do not pursue nuclear weapons. The country should return to stability. This severe inflation needs to be brought under control, and people should be able to live.
However, some other locals argued against Iran backing down to U.S. pressure and also called for avenging the death of Ayatollah Khamenei.
It will 100% start, because it has to start. The revenge for these young people must be taken. The revenge of our leader must be taken. We must not retreat.
As of now, the way things stand, the situation is tense, to say the least. Both Iran and the U.S. are making bold statements. A lot of messaging out there. Trump saying he is ready to resume bombing. Iranian forces say they are not afraid and their fingers are on the trigger. Time, at the same time, is running fast. Will diplomacy get a chance to resolve what's happening, or will the region witness another brutal confrontation? President Donald Trump, meanwhile, has said that the U.S. obtaining enriched uranium from Iran would be long and difficult in the aftermath of last year's U.S. strikes on Tehran's nuclear sites. A very significant statement. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, Operation Midnight Hammer was a complete and total obliteration of the nuclear dust sites in Iran. The U.S. president regularly uses the term nuclear dust to refer to Iran's stock of enriched uranium or the material left from last year's strikes on the nuclear facilities. So that statement on your screen. Last week, Trump said the U.S. will work with Iran to recover its enriched uranium and bring it back to the U.S., remember. In fact, he referred to it as nuclear dust and said it would be retrieved very soon. Iran, however, refused it, saying it is not an option. Iran's nuclear program remains a sticking point, of course, between the two sides, even as new challenges like the Strait of Hormuz crisis have emerged since the start of that war. The clock is ticking as far as that truce is concerned. Islamabad gearing up to hold that round of talks, like we just said. At the same time, a lot of uncertainty. The White House has said that JD Vance was ready to fly back to Pakistan earlier, but a lot has also happened. Tehran's government has declined to confirm that it would be participating and accused the U.S. of violating the truce through its blockade of the Iranian ports and the seizure of the ship. Despite the blockade, the Tasnim news agency reporting that the Iranian cargo ship crossed the Strait of Hormuz, like we said. Also, shipping industry intelligence site Lloyd's List also talking about how more than 20 Iranian so-called shadow vessels had transited the channel. Trump told Bloomberg News, meanwhile, that it was highly unlikely that he would extend the 2-week truce. He separately told BBS News reportedly that if the ceasefire expires, a lot of bombs will start going off. Iran, however, has cleared that it would not accept negotiations under the shadow of threats, the country's parliament speaker also threatening that they have been preparing to show new cards on the battlefield if the war resumes. New cards. As in the previous round of the talks, Vance is expected to be joined by the special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and Trump's son-in-law and advisor, Jared Kushner. It's not clear who exactly from Iran's side will be showing up if that happens. And following the first round of talks early this month, remember, Vance said that the U.S. could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept the terms. And Iran's foreign ministry, meanwhile, urged Washington to refrain from excessive demands and unlawful requests.
Motor vessel Toska, we're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
And amid all of that, the seizure of the Iranian cargo ship has become that major flashpoint between the U.S. and Iran. And while the U.S. president earlier revealed that it was under U.S. sanctions owing to prior history of illegal activity, quote unquote, fresh details have now surfaced on what was allegedly found on board the vessel. Over the weekend, the conflict escalated in the Gulf of Oman as the U.S. Navy's guided missile destroyer intercepted that vessel, which was heading towards the Iranian port city of Bandar Abbas, reportedly. This U.S. destroyer fired at the Iranian vessel's engine room after it allegedly ignored repeated warnings to turn back. CENTCOM even released footage of the operation showing Marines departing the assault ship USS Tripoli by helicopter and descending on the cargo vessel to seize it. Now, it's now been reported that the Iranian container ship may contain dual-use items that could be used by the Iranian military as well as industries. The list of items potentially reportedly including metals, pipes, electronic components. This vessel reportedly carried dual-use items in the past as well. It is part of the Islamic Republic of Iran shipping lines, which is reportedly controlled by the IRGC. In 2019, the U.S. Department of State imposed sanctions on this group, citing that it poses a risk of contributing to Iran's proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. It accused it of transporting items intended for Iran's ballistic missile program. As per data analytics experts, the cargo vessel was initially detected at China's port on the 25th of March and arrived at the country's port around 29th of March. This vessel loaded containers there as well as at its next stop at a port in Malaysia, reportedly. Meanwhile, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley claiming that this ship was linked to chemical shipments for Iranian missiles. She says that she alleged that the ship was linked to chemical shipments for Iranian missiles. She also alleged that China is helping prop up Iran's regime. Subsequently, China expressed concern over the forced interception of this Iranian cargo ship and urged all parties to abide by the ceasefire agreement. Listen to this.
As the situation in the Strait of Hormuz is sensitive and complex, we have expressed our concern over the US's forced interception of the relevant vessels. We hope that the relevant parties will abide by the ceasefire agreement in a responsible manner.
Trump, though, made his unease with China pretty clear. Speaking to ABC News, he said, I'm quoting, "We caught a ship yesterday that had some things on it which wasn't very nice. A gift from China, perhaps," quote unquote. Previously, Trump claimed that Beijing had agreed not to send weapons to Iran. On the other hand, Tehran termed the incident unlawful and violation of the international law. It demanded the immediate release of the vessel, its sailors and their families. Until now, Iran's military has refrained from taking any action to ensure safety of the vessel's crew and their families. Meanwhile, signaling its intent yet again, the U.S. forces boarded the Tehran vessel in the Indo-Pacific region and conducted an inspection. It has been sanctioned, reportedly, for transporting Iranian oil. As per the U.S. Department of War, this was part of the global efforts to disrupt the network providing support to Iran. And while the truce deadline looms and uncertainty hangs in the air over the peace talks, let's talk about the link between a Texas lobbying firm, reportedly, and Pakistan playing the role that it has in the US-Iran talks. According to a report by Turkey Today, a Texas lobbying firm has had a key role to play in this, reportedly through years of backroom maneuvering. According to the report, it also managed to get Pakistan's Field Marshal Asim Munir into a room with the US president in the year 2025. This meeting between Trump and Munir, remember, took place even as Pakistan's elected prime minister remained in office. The report says the head of Linden Strategies, Stephen Payne, urged Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif reportedly to nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, also adding that the Houston-based firm has, quote, spent many years working alongside multiple Pakistani prime ministers, US presidents, and generals, quietly shaping the US-Pakistan narrative, quote unquote. The report also talks about how the Linden-Pakistan saga started just before the global geopolitical landscape shifted on September 11, 2001. It says, Payne began representing Pakistani interests as a vital back channel to the United States, working directly for then-President Pervez Musharraf, it says. According to the report, the firm signed a formal contract with Islamabad in June 2001. The report says the firm supported negotiations. The report says Payne's firm supported negotiations that secured a massive 5-year, $3 billion US aid package for Pakistan. In fact, in a January 2006 letter cited by the report, President Musharraf thanked Payne, writing, quoting, "The challenges faced by both our countries in the aftermath of September 11, 2001 brought us even closer, in which you played a pivotal role," quote unquote. According to the report, Payne asserts that his years of work placed Pakistan at the center stage for diplomacy in the Iran-US talks. Now, to what extent all of this will help Pakistan, if at all, is a discussion for another day, and what kind of a role Pakistan really ends up playing is a key question, given the uncertainty surrounding the talks itself. At the same time, the war of words is only escalating. In southern Lebanon, the so-called yellow line drawn by Israel is now being directly challenged by the Hezbollah. Hezbollah has issued a defiant warning, saying the group will break this line, calling it a matter of legitimate resistance and self-defense. Israel, on the other hand, claims the buffer zone is essential, a shield to protect its northern communities, much like its security perimeter around Gaza. But as diplomacy tries to hold the line, ground reality telling a different story. Across Lebanon, from Beirut's southern suburbs to the towns of the south, reportedly, funerals are now defining this fragile pause. Mourners are back on the streets, carrying the bodies of Hezbollah fighters killed in over 6 weeks of war. The fighters killed in over 6 weeks of war in various parts. Dozens of fighters are being laid to rest. Some returned only now after temporary burials during active combat. And the numbers are quite staggering. Lebanese authorities saying more than 2,300 people have been killed, including women and children, over 1.2 million displaced. Israel claims it has eliminated over 1,700 Hezbollah fighters, a figure that remains unverified. And yet Hezbollah refuses to back down as of now. Calls for disarmament are being flatly rejected, with the group insisting that as long as occupation exists, its weapons are non-negotiable. Israel also holding its position, the defense minister saying the endgame is clear: disarm Hezbollah and remove the threat to Israel's north through both military force and diplomatic pressure.
The overarching goal of the campaign in Lebanon is to disarm Hezbollah and remove the threat to the communities in the north through a combination of military and diplomatic measures.
On the other side of the Israeli border, meanwhile, Gaza's humanitarian crisis is only worsening. Reports say more than $71 billion will be needed over the next 10 years for recovery and reconstruction in Gaza after Israel's war on the territory. In their final Gaza Rapid Damage and Needs Assessment, the European Union and the United Nations asserted that the conflict has had a catastrophic impact on human development. A surge in rats, fleas and other pests also compounding the misery of the hundreds of thousands of displaced people still living in tents. And with meager shelter, almost no sanitation, Palestinians say the vermin are invading their makeshift homes, biting children and contaminating food.
I have suffered greatly from weasels and mice. My children have been bitten. One of my sons was even bitten on the nose. I am unable to sleep throughout the night because I must constantly watch over the children. The weasels have eaten through my tent. My situation is difficult.
All right, on to some breaking news coming in this minute. NATO warplanes were scrambled after Russian military aircraft were detected flying over the Baltic Sea, triggering a fresh aerial face-off above one of Europe's most sensitive regions. In fact, Allied jets were reportedly launched to intercept and visually identify the Russian aircraft approaching or moving through international airspace near member states bordering the Baltic. Such missions are common, but each encounter carrying strategic weight as the tensions remain high between Russia and the alliance. So that's the latest coming in as far as those tensions are concerned. And the aircraft involved reportedly included long-range Russian bombers. These bombers are heavy military aircraft designed to travel long distances and carry cruise missiles or conventional strike weapons. So that's the latest as of now. And the Russian mission also included about 10 fighters, both Su-30s and Su-35 that took turns escorting the larger strategic bombers. The Russian Defense Ministry saying the flight took more than 4 hours. Moscow saying that these flights are lawful and conducted in international airspace. Russian officials regularly describe them as scheduled training or patrol operations carried out under global aviation rules, and they reject claims that the missions are provocative. French Rafale fighters, in fact, were deployed from a Lithuanian air base where they are stationed as part of a decades-long NATO air policing effort. And the fighters, armed with air-to-air missiles, joined the jets from Sweden, Finland, Poland, Denmark and Romania, and they all took to the skies to inspect and keep watch on the Russian flight.
There's a lot of traffic from the Russian, and there are plenty of times in which, on purpose or not, they are not really respecting the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization rules regarding flight plans and behavior. So obviously we are forced to take off and just make sure that they are who they say they are, and their intention is peaceful and just transitioning back to their home airfields.
And the NATO saying air policing missions are defensive and routine. Fighter jets are placed on quick reaction alert across Europe and can be airborne within minutes when unidentified or military aircraft approach. When unidentified or military aircraft approach sensitive zones. In fact, the Baltic Sea has become a major pressure point since the Ukraine war, with the NATO increasing patrols and Russia continuing long-range aviation missions. Military analysts saying that these encounters are less about combat and more about signaling. NATO demonstrates readiness, Russia demonstrates reach. So that's critical. And the skies over the Baltic remain contested, crowded, and of course closely watched as well. All right, we will be keeping a very close eye on those developments with far-reaching implications. But switching gears now to Sudan, which is witnessing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. It has been a battleground for competing foreign powers, but things are also changing rapidly. According to a report by Reuters, Pakistan has put a $1.5 billion weapon sales to Sudan on hold. The arms deal reportedly has been put on hold after Saudi Arabia refused to finance the deal and asked Pakistan to terminate the agreement. In January this year, Reuters had reported that the deal was in final stages. However, neither Pakistan nor Saudi Arabia have ever confirmed that any such deal was in the works. The Reuters report, citing a source saying that Saudi Arabia refused to finance the deal after a meeting between Sudanese army leaders and Saudi authorities in Riyadh last month. Further, the report says that Pakistan's $4 billion arms deal with Libya is also in jeopardy as the Saudis are reportedly revisiting their strategy in both the countries. The Reuters report also saying that some Western countries have advised Riyadh to stay out of proxy wars in Africa. The Saudis have long supported the Sudanese army in the civil war against the paramilitary RSF, remember. The RSF, in turn, is backed by the UAE, although the Emiratis deny any such support. The civil war in Sudan has raged since 2023, leading to over 150,000 deaths and some of the most barbaric incidents. The conflict has also displaced millions, triggering the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Riyadh and Abu Dhabi have been reportedly involved in several proxy wars in the region. The most prominent among them is Yemen, where the Saudis are seen to be backing the internationally recognized Yemeni government, while the UAE primarily supports the Southern Transitional Council. The decade-long civil war has displaced millions, led to thousands of deaths. And a quick look now at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. As Japan lifts the arms export ban in a historic shift, we are getting you a detailed report about the implications. The mystery deepens in the US. Top scientists working in different fields like nuclear and UFO research have vanished or been found dead reportedly since 2022. We are getting you the latest on that. All this and more coming up. For 8 decades, Japan kept its weapons to itself. A country that once waged war across Asia made a solemn promise to the world. That promise, in a way, ends today. Japan has just opened the doors to selling weapons on the global market for the first time since the Second World War. Take a look.
For decades, Japan built warships, missiles and advanced defense systems that almost no foreign buyer could touch. Its factories had the technology, its engineers had the skill, but its post-war rules kept the gate shut. That era is now ending. Japan has approved its biggest arms export rule change in generations, allowing defense companies to sell lethal military equipment abroad under expanded conditions. It marks a dramatic shift for a country whose modern identity was shaped by the horrors of war and a constitutional commitment to restraint. Now strategic realities are rewriting old boundaries. Rising tensions in the Indo-Pacific, North Korean missile tests, pressure around Taiwan, and China's growing military reach have pushed Japan to rethink security policy. Tokyo wants stronger deterrence, closer defense ties, and a more self-reliant industrial base.
At present, no country can protect itself on its own. In order to protect the country and the region, it is important to strengthen the deterrence and response capabilities of allies and like-minded countries by promoting the transfer of defense equipment and technology even more.
By opening foreign markets, Japan's defense giants can now chase contracts overseas, scale up production, and strengthen supply chains. Analysts say sectors such as naval systems, radar, missile defense, and aerospace could benefit first. China has already expressed concern, warning against moves that could destabilize regional security.
Japan's recent series of dangerous moves in the military and security fields have exposed its self-proclaimed status as a peaceful nation and a country adhering to policy of self-defense. Many experts and scholars are concerned that Japan is restarting its war machine and exporting war abroad.
Beijing has long watched Japan's military moves with suspicion, given the deep scars of wartime history. Inside Japan, the decision may also spark debate. Supporters say the world has changed and Japan must adapt. Critics warn the country risks drifting away from the pacifist principles that helped define the post-war order. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
A growing concern is taking shape across Europe, alarm bells ringing over the heavy reliance of its defense systems on American cloud technology, reportedly, and the potential risks that come with it. A new analysis by the Future of Technology Institute has revealed that a vast majority of European Union countries depend on US-based cloud providers for their military and national defense operations. And this dependence exists either through direct contracts with American tech giants or indirectly through European companies that themselves use US cloud infrastructure. At the center of all of this concern is also the idea of what's called a kill switch. It basically refers to the possibility that Washington could, at any moment, force cloud providers to shut down services, restrict access, or hand over sensitive data. And such moves could be taken through legal or political means, including sanctions or data requests. One key legal tool is the Cloud Act. That was passed during the presidency of Donald Trump. This law basically allows US authorities to subpoena data stored by American companies, even if that data is hosted outside America. For European defense agencies using these services, this creates a serious vulnerability. According to the study, 16 European countries are at particularly high risk of being affected by such a kill switch. These include Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Hungary, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovenia, and the UK. In fact, Microsoft emerges as a dominant player, reportedly, among cloud providers. Its systems are used by defense agencies in 19 countries, reportedly. Other major companies have also secured defense contracts across the region, like Google and Oracle, reportedly. The risk is not just political, but also technical. These cloud systems require regular updates, after all, maintenance and support from their US-based providers. If relations worsen or sanctions are imposed, for example, these services could be interrupted, potentially compromising military operations. And as a result, European governments are increasingly trying and often struggling to reduce their dependence on US technology. There is a growing fear that the United States could one day leverage this digital dependency for strategic advantage. Countries like France, Germany, Finland, and the Netherlands are now actively reassessing their reliance on US tech giants, reportedly. In France, authorities have already taken steps to restrict the use of American video tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams in government operations, reportedly. All French ministries have been asked to develop a sovereignty plan by the fall. France has joined forces with Germany, the Netherlands, and Italy to build digital commons. And at the European level, the European Commission has taken a major step towards digital sovereignty. It has awarded $213 million cloud contract to 4 European providers. This move is designed to boost local cloud capabilities and create large-scale demand for continental technology solutions. In a fresh escalation of tensions spilling beyond the battlefield, dozens of Israeli citizens were detained and questioned for several hours at Moscow's airport over the weekend. This incident has drawn diplomatic attention from both Moscow and Israel. According to Israel's foreign ministry, the group was held and later released after intervention from official channels, including the Israeli embassy in Moscow and Russia's foreign ministry. The incident involved at least 40 Israeli and dual Russian-Israeli nationals, reportedly, who arrived from Tel Aviv and were held for around 5 hours on Saturday. Around 5 hours. The episode coming at a delicate point and just at a time when air travel between Israel and Russia resumed after weeks of disruption because of the West Asia war. Israel reopened its airspace after the ceasefire, remember. The incident also unfolding against the backdrop of the sharp escalation in espionage-related claims between Israel and Iran. A few days ago, the Iranian state media reported the arrest of 4 individuals in a province. They were allegedly linked to Israel's Mossad intelligence agency. The arrested individuals were accused of transmitting images and locations of sensitive military and security sites to Israeli handlers over the internet. And on the other end of this espionage battle, Israeli security agencies have charged a woman from Israel with spying for Iran. Israel's security agencies say they have arrested over 50 suspected Iranian operatives in around 40 publicly known cases over the past 2 years itself. Is the American dream dying? The United States, which was dubbed the land of opportunities for centuries, is not being seen with the same rose-tinted glasses anymore. A new survey has found that nearly half of the people in the US today do not believe the dream applies to all Americans. Many even say success is less achievable in the US now than when they were growing up. Before the US turns 250 years old in July, The Times asked YouGov to explore what American citizens really feel about the idea that success is available to anyone. Although 61% of the respondents still believe in the concept of the American dream, only 38% think that it exists for everyone. 21% of the respondents said outright that the concept does not exist anymore. And in terms of political affiliation, the survey revealed significant differences in opinion. 57% of Republicans saying the American dream exists, but only, in fact, 28% Democrats think so as well. Whereas 26% Democrats, but just 9% of Republicans outrightly said that the American dream does not exist. About 15% of both party supporters said that they are unsure of the concept in general. The survey also revealed significant personal economic anxiety among the people. As recession fears loom large, overall 73% said that they were worried about saving money, 61% about paying bills, 59% about medical costs. Almost half of the respondents to the poll, which was conducted in January, thought that a stock market crash would happen this year. The survey also underscoring a growing sense of economic insecurity and skepticism about the path to better living standards. Half of the respondents surveyed feel life in the US has worsened in the past years, with many believing the economic and political systems are stacked against them. Despite all the concerns, only 21% said they would be better off financially if they lived outside America. A spate of alleged deaths, disappearances have baffled America. Top scientists working in different fields like nuclear and UFO research have reportedly vanished or been found dead since 2022. And US President Donald Trump has vowed that there will be answers. Now, one more mysterious death has garnered a lot of attention, taking the number of missing or dead scientists to 11. This case dating back to June 2011. A scientist who founded the Institute for Exotic Science was reportedly found dead with a self-inflicted gunshot injury. As per reports, she was investigating and attempting to develop anti-gravity technology. Her death has come under scrutiny as she reportedly flagged escalating threats owing to her work in 2020. Meanwhile, the probe into this matter has intensified, with the main investigative committee in the US House of Representatives stepping in. The US House Oversight Committee has now sought information about those scientists who had gone missing over the last 3 years. The Department of Energy, Department of War, FBI, NASA have been asked to provide a briefing on this by the 27th of April. Congressman James Comer, who heads this committee, told Fox News that so many scientists going missing or dying cannot be a coincidence. He said, and I'm quoting, "The committee is making this one of our priorities now because we view this as a national security threat." In another development, the FBI saying that it would lead an effort to hunt for any possible connections between the deaths and disappearances of the scientists. It is working with the Department of Energy, the Department of War, the local law enforcement agencies to find answers. Similarly, NASA also released a statement saying that it was cooperating with the relevant agencies regarding this matter. At the same time, it stressed that nothing indicates a national security threat as of now. Now, who are these scientists whose death or disappearance sparked speculation that they might have been targeted, perhaps, by America's enemies? That's one of the questions that's being asked. The list also included a NASA researcher whose cause of death is unknown. Come 2024, a NASA scientist died under mysterious circumstances. In 2025, a former Los Alamos employee also went missing after leaving home, reportedly. This was followed by the disappearance of an aerospace executive who went on a hiking trip in California. Another Los Alamos employee also disappeared. Similarly, government contractor Steven Garcia stepped out carrying a handgun and was never seen again. In December 2025, Novartis researcher Jason Thomas disappeared with his body found from a lake in March this year. In the same month, a nuclear physicist was shot dead at home. Additionally, an astrophysicist who collaborated with NASA was also allegedly killed. The last case of disappearance dating back to February 27, when a retired Air Force general had vanished from his residence. Campaigning for the first phase of the West Bengal Assembly elections has ended. The state has entered that 48-hour silence period ahead of polling this Thursday. In the first phase of elections, 152 constituencies across 16 districts will be heading to the polls. And according to the official figures, there are over 36 million voters. Of these, 18.4 million are male voters, 17.5 million are female voters, 465 are third gender electors. The Election Commission has meanwhile stepped up security arrangements across the state ahead of the polling. More than 8,000 booths have been identified as super sensitive. To ensure free, fair and peaceful polling, central forces have also been deployed along with surveillance teams and quick response units. Strict monitoring has been ordered in border areas, with some zones sealed to prevent untoward incidents. Authorities say these measures are essential to maintain law and order during voting. Leaders from all major parties are holding rallies across the state, aiming to sway the undecided voters before the mandated period of silence began. Among the key contenders is the BJP leader, Suvendu Adhikari, the leader of opposition, who has thrown a big challenge to Mamata Banerjee. He is being pitted against a long-time associate who recently joined the TMC in Nandigram. Former two-time MLA from Murshidabad, Sherni, also returning to the fray on a TMC ticket after narrowly losing to BJP's Gauri Shankar in 2021. Dilip Ghosh, senior BJP leader, former state president, who has been a prominent face of the party's expansion in the state, is contesting as well. In fact, veteran Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is making a comeback to the assembly politics after around 25 years, seen as a crucial move to try and revive the Congress in Murshidabad. He faces the BJP MLA, who is seeking a second term from the assembly constituency. And this is while the phase 1 takes place this Thursday, the remaining 142 seats will be heading to the polls on the 29th of April. The fate of the 294-member assembly will be revealed on the 4th of May. That's when the counting starts. On the 29th of March, just hours after the swearing-in ceremony, Nepal's new administration, led by the Prime Minister, moved quickly to set an economic agenda in motion, prioritizing measures aimed at strengthening the cash flow, boosting spending, and addressing the near-term financial pressures. Weeks after that pledge, a major shift is on the way on how the government employees are going to be paid. Nepal has decided to move from a monthly salary system to a fortnightly payment model in an effort to stimulate domestic consumption and support economic activity as well. In fact, the decision by the Ministry of Finance directing that existing monthly salaries and allowances be split into 2 equal installments and paid every 15 days. Officials say the aim is to ensure more consistent income flow for the government staff. The aim is also to help them to increase overall spending and reduce end-of-month financial stress, which is a major challenge for the middle class. The move is being widely welcomed, with many saying frequent payments will make it easier to manage routine expenses like school fees, utility bills, daily household needs. It will also reduce reliance on short-term borrowing. And economists believe the change could have broader macroeconomic effects as well, including more stable consumption patterns that may benefit small businesses and retailers by avoiding the usual month-end spending spike and early month slowdown. The new model, mirroring practices in countries like the U.S. and Australia, it is expected to be implemented in phases, and if successful, it may become a template for other developing economies that are also looking to strengthen consumption-driven growth and improve financial stability among workers. Moving on for now, IPL is of course a delight to watch. The multi-billion-dollar league has audiences fixated. The 20-over cricket tournament is a run fest where the batters often rule the 22-yard pitch. It is a run fest, an unending saga of big hits, records shattered almost every match. And it's also often a contest of how quickly a batter can score runs. And that begs the question, how low can the ball count really go for a T20 century? Now, if we look through the record books, Tilak Varma's 45-ball ton does not even feature in the top 10 of the IPL's fastest centuries. In fact, it sits at the 17th spot, as you can see. In overall T20s, it doesn't even make the top 30. The IPL record belongs to Chris Gayle, who smashed a 30-ball century in 2013, while the record for the fastest T20I century belongs to Estonia's Sahil Chauhan, who took just 27 balls to reach 3 figures against Cyprus in 2024. In fact, mathematically, a batter can reach a century in just 17 legal balls by hitting 17 consecutive sixes, but that also remains firmly in the realm of theory, because in recorded cricket history, the most consecutive sixes in top-level cricket is 6, a feat achieved by multiple players. That figure would obviously go down if the batter makes use of a no ball or a free hit. Even Chauhan, during his record-breaking knock, struck 13 sixes in total, still well short of that perfect streak. So realistically, what is the lower limit then? If a batter maximizes power plays, targets specific bowlers, and maintains a strike rate above 300, a sub-25 ball century may not be out of reach. And with T20 cricket constantly pushing boundaries as well, it may only be a matter of time before even that barrier gets broken. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION, World is One. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
Hello, you're watching Beyond Pulse. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Up next, we get you all the latest developments in the West Asia conflict and all the other updates from across the world. First up, a quick look at the top stories. A White House official says that the U.S. Vice President JD Vance has not departed for the Iran talks. He goes on to say that Vance is participating in additional policy meetings at the White House. Pakistan's information minister says that a formal response from the Iranian side about the confirmation of the delegation to attend the peace talks is still awaited.